Part 2, baby, we're back. Today we're gonna do part 2 of our Noobs build guide. In part 1, we completely built this mining rig. We showed you all the details on how to set it up, how to hook it up, how to get the card, show it in Windows, and all those little nuances. And then in part 2, we're actually gonna get this thing up and mining, and we're gonna use Nicehash. We're gonna show you all the little details, every nook and cranny. But without further ado, let's go ahead and spin that intro. Welcome! Today we're going to do a Noobs guide, a full build from the ground up, part by part, piece by piece. Before we tear into that, I want to advise to go check out our Noobs guide parts, where we go over every single component that you need to build a mining rig, where we give the top selections as well as tips and advice on what to buy, how to hook it up, all the best goodies that you can. It's quite a thorough guide, so check that out.
Another heading slowly, child is slowly taken, and the violence caused such silence. Who are we mistaken? But you see, it's not me, it's not my family. In your head, they are fighting with their tanks and their bombs and their bombs and their bombs. In your head, they are fighting. In your breaking, heart is taking over. When the violence causes silence, we must be mistaken. It's the same old team since 1916. In your head, they still fighting with their tanks and their bombs and their bombs and their guns. In your head, they are guided. In your head, zombie, zombie, zombie. What's in your head? In your head, zombie, zombie, zombie. What's in your head?
Hey, Futured Altered here with an altered future. We're going back to the present. We're gonna go ahead and go over how to allocate virtual memory. Then we're gonna dive into the settings and setting up Nicehash and overclocking. Let's get back to it. Alright, so here we are, we're back into our remote session. We've got all 4 of the GPUs installed and showing perfectly in Windows, and now we're going to start setting up so that we can get these things mining. So what do we need to do next? First, we're just going to show you, we have 4 20 Supers, 3 of them are 2060, 1 is a 2070, and our NVIDIA drivers are updated, Windows is updated. So from that aspect, we're ready to go. And a very important thing, before you start mining, in Windows, whenever you're in Windows, you have to do something called set the virtual memory. And what this does is it allocates a portion of the hard drive or solid state drive for virtual memory that will be dedicated to the mining process and to the GPUs. So to do this, just hit start and type performance. And right there, we want to adjust the appearance and the performance of Windows in the control panel, right there. So now you'll hit the Advanced tab, and right here, this virtual memory, this is what we want to change. Hit your change button. Naturally, natively, it's set to automatically manage the paging file. We want to uncheck that. We want to set a custom size. Now, you will get varying opinions on this, but I have always been told that for every gigabyte of memory on the graphics card, you should put a gigabyte into your virtual. So if you had an 8 gigabyte card, you would want 8 gigabytes listed under here. Personally, if I have 8 on the card, I'm using 6 under the virtual memory. So let's see how that looks. Calculator. 1 gigabyte equals 1024 bytes. So this is what I do. I do 1024 times 6. So for each of my 8 gigabyte cards, I'm allocating 6,144 megabytes, which is essentially 6 gigabyte. And then I know I have 4 cards, so I'm going to times by 4. So I am going to allocate 24.5 gigabytes of space into my virtual memory. And I'm going to set it on the initial size. And I'm going to set it on the maximum size. And then I'm going to hit set. And apply. Okay, so now it has changed the paging file system, the virtual memory. If you do not set this and you try to fire up your miner, it's going to error out your miner almost every time on Ethereum because it cannot allocate or grab that space via Windows on its own. This is a Windows thing where the memory does not allocate out properly, so that's why you have to set this. Again, it is advised to use 1 gigabyte per gigabyte on your card, so really the advised number is 1024 times how many ever gigabytes on your cards. I have 32 gigabytes on my cards, so it's telling me by the advised to use 32,768. Hey, Futured Altered here with another Altered Future. Before we go back into the overclocking and setting up the Nicehash full application, we've decided to go ahead and set up and show off the Nicehash quick miner. Then we'll move into overclocking with the MSI Afterburner, and we'll show you how to set up and optimize the full Nicehash miner. Let's get back to the past, or the present, the future. Whenever you're watching this, let's get back to it. Alright, next step, we need to download Nicehash Miner. Let's go to Google, and we'll just do Nicehash download. And then we'll go to the Nicehash download center. And right here, here's the couple different items we can get. We can get the application and download it. We can download the quick miner, or we can download the Nicehash operating system. That's not what we're going to do because we're in Windows. We're not doing the separate OS, which is more like a Linux-based like Hive OS is, but it's Nicehash's own proprietary. So what we want is one of 2 options. We can download Nicehash Miner, or we can download Nicehash Quick Miner. Let's just go ahead and go through both. We'll do the quick miner first. It's supposed to be the easiest. You download it, and it's actually even supposed to overclock and take care of all that on its own. Let's do that first, and then we'll do the other miner so that we can see exactly how that looks. Alright, so we have it downloaded right down here in our bar, or go to your downloads folder. Let's click on the exe and let's open it. And then it's going to say, do you want to allow this? Yes, let's do it. And then right here, it's going to say, do you want to create a shortcut? Yeah, why not? Run Nicehash after installation. Yeah. Apply optimize for all devices. And then it wants you to click, I am at least 18 years old. And then you have to hit download and install. You want to use the stable version, by the way. So let's go ahead and download the stable version. Alright, so there you go. Nicehash has been successfully installed. Thank you for your support. And now it should open. It wants me to agree to their terms. Yes. Another agreement. I want to accept. Okay. It says right here, enter your mining address here. So this is where you're going to put in your Nicehash generated Bitcoin address. And we're going to click right here. It says log into your Nicehash account, then go to this page. If you click that link, it'll go back to Nicehash. If you have not already, you need to create a Nicehash account. You would hit sign up, put in your email and your password, and that will get you going on this. So here I am, I'm already logged into Nicehash, and then it tells me that I need to get my mining address, and it shows me a little picture in the thing, and then I want to click mining address. So now I'm going to copy my mining address from Nicehash, and I'm going to plug it in up here. Okay, now we need to name our worker name, and we're going to call this Rig 2 because that's what I named it in Windows, just to make a nice match. And then we're going to hit, we can click through these tabs, I guess, and make sure. So language is English, auto start, we don't want it to auto start with Windows at this time. Error handle will be to restart excavator. Tips and tricks, rig manager, OC tune. So that's interesting right there. It's the tuning tool, but we're going to leave that as it is for now, and we're going to hit OK. And now it says, hey, you're ready to go. Start mining. Start mining automatically. Let's just hit start mining to see what it does. And it says excavator has started successfully. And here it is. It's firing up. I closed MSI Afterburner because I want to see what it does on its own without my overclocking set. An excavator is the actual miner itself, the mining software. There are different mining softwares that actually mine on the same algorithms. Like you could use T-Rex or NB Miner, or you could use, it used to be Claymore or Phoenix Miner. Excavator is Nicehash's own ETH mining application, so there's many miners that could be used within the Nicehash application. So right out the bat, it's not doing too bad. It's giving me 40.8 megahash, 40.7, 40.3, and actually that efficiency is pretty good. So that is with Afterburner closed. Let me see if Afterburner is actually affecting that. And so I opened Afterburner just to see what it did to the overclocks there. And what it did is it cranked the power limits completely up, but it's not actually using those power limits. So that's solid. And then it just put a gentle overclocking of plus 600 memory on all these. And we know that we can push these at least 800 to 1,000 for all four of these cards. For a quick, easy setup with no overclocking required, you could skip the Afterburner, you could just install Nicehash Quick Miner, and you could fire this thing up and you could get running. However, you're not getting the most efficiency, you're not getting the most hash rate. So later we'll circle back and we'll actually use the other Nicehash version and we'll do our own tuning on this thing. So the only thing, I don't see where my stats are displayed in here, so that's kind of a bummer. So you could just go back to the website itself and it's going to pull in your mining devices, and you can see it is showing what I'm mining, and it's showing I have 4 cards, and it's showing that as of right now $2.42 per day worth of BTC, which is way low. And if I let this run long enough, I'm sure it would equalize and even out to where it really should be. So for now, there we go. So next, let's go ahead and download MSI Afterburner, because that's very important whenever you're mining, because what you want to do optimally is to tune your cards so that you're using the least amount of power and getting the most mega hashes or the most hash rate. If you're on a different algorithm, it might be sols or solutions per second. It might be some other aspect, not necessarily mega hash. But the point is that you want to get the most hash rate out of your cards at the best efficiency. So to do this, you have to set your overclocks. We are going to download MSI Afterburner. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Go to Google, download MSI Afterburner, and you want to download it from the official site. Actually, the TechSpot one's usually pretty good too and safe, but I always do from the official site. Okay, so now we're in the MSI site. We want to download Afterburner. You download a zip file. Once the zip file is downloaded, you want to extract that. Then you want to run the setup. Okay, so download it. Show me the folder. There is our zip file. We are going to extract all. Right click, extract all. And then that's going to unzip our folder. And there's our setup file. We want to double click and run this setup to install the Afterburner. It's going to say, do you want to allow? Yes, we want to allow. Please select a language, English, and then it's going to lead us through step by step. Easy to get next. When I accept, you allow the agreement. Hit next. And I'm going to install the real statistics for this. And that's something you can use like your gaming. You want your stats on the screen, show like your live frames per second game. We don't need that much. So just MSI Afterburner. We're going to next. We're going to default to the main station folder. And then we're going to install and like PS nice shortcut. It's a really quick install. We're not going to show the readme. We're just going to run the Afterburner. Alright, so here is our Afterburner. We're just going to do a quick little look through this guy and see what we see. So this is the default skin, their new default skin. If you want to change it to something different, just hit your settings, and then you want to go over to your user interface tab, and we want to change right here the skin. The skin is what changes your look. And we could go to something more that is more commonly used, like how about I like the Cyborg Afterburner Red. This is commonly used by a lot of people. So right there, that's how you change your skin. And then this is whenever you're watching tutorials or whatever on YouTube, a lot of people use this one, so it's a lot easier to follow along on your overclocking. Now, for overclocking, you're going to ask, how do I overclock my card? So the first thing you want to do is you want to go to your settings, hit your little gear icon, and this will show all of your GPUs right here in this drop down. 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 4 installed plus the onboard graphics. So right now I'm just defaulted to 1. And here you can go through some of your general properties. If you want this to load with Windows, and a lot of people will set up their miner to automatically open whenever they boot, and so then you would want Afterburner also to boot with Windows. So that's when you would click this Start with Windows. Another thing you want to do is you want to go ahead and unlock your voltage control, voltage monitoring, and I leave force constant voltage unchecked. So those are the things that I add. And down here, if you don't want this thing trying to update or check all the time and popping up a message, you would just get this, change it right here to never, so that it doesn't look for updates and it only updates if you want to make it update. So the next really important thing you want to do is you want to go ahead and set a fan curve. This is my preference. This is the way a lot of people will set a static fan. They'll set it at 70%, 80% on your fan so that your GPU fans are always spinning 80%. I think that adds extra wear on the cards that doesn't necessarily need to be there. So what you would do is you go to your fan tab and you hit Enable User Defined Software Control. This is the stock fan curve that comes programmed in. So we want to make it so that it's not always on. So we're going to go up here, we're going to add a dot. Just click on the chart to add a dot, and we're going to drag it down. And now we've got it set to say that if the card's under 30C, that the fans don't turn on. Next, we want to make this more aggressive. Right now, it's telling me that at 90C for the GPU temperature, that it'll be 100% fan speed. That's not aggressive enough. We want that to happen at about 80. Let's move that clear over to 80, which I added an extra dot I didn't want to add. Hit delete to get rid of it. So then if I move it up here, this is saying that once it hits 80C, that I'll have 100% fan speed. Now I want to change my curve to better match that. So let's say that when I'm at 70C, I want to be at 85%. That sounds about fair. That's on 69% or 69C. Right there. Alright, so next, let's just go ahead and bring this guy out to make it a little more aggressive. And that's kind of more linear, but that's okay. That's still a lot more aggressive. And what's that saying is at 55C, I'm at 62, which I want to be more like, I don't know, 65 at 55. There we go. So now that's really kind of more of aggressive. And this is kind of a cover for all, so that it's saying that as your card gets hotter, those fans spin faster to cool it back down. And this will keep less wear and tear on your cards, and it's just better for the longevity of your hardware. It's also smarter to keep your cards cooler, because then you hash better and they last longer. Okay, so hit apply, and there's our fan curve is set. And then it says the changes have applied, that you have to restart the Afterburner. So yeah, let's go ahead and restart it. Okay, so there we are. Now we have our fan curve. If I hit the settings gear, we go back over here to fan tab. There is our user-defined fan curve. Next, we want to just go ahead and set our overclocks. Now, you're asking, Alter, where do I find my overclocks? How do I set these things? I gotcha. Okay, so let's go with some base easy overclocks, and I'll show you where to find these. Let's go to Google, and let's just do Nicehash overclock settings. Just search for Nicehash overclock settings. And then we are going to go to, I believe it's this top one. So let's check this top one here. Yep, there you go. So it says NVIDIA and AMD graphics card OC settings for mining. And again, these are just kind of base, and these are usually a little bit under what you can push most cards to, but they do that so that most people can use these settings. So in this case, it's telling me, I have a 2070 Super, it's telling me, this first column is your core, it's telling me to set my core at -50. Okay, so now we're on our 2060 Super, and we want to switch to our 2070 Super to get the settings in there. So how do I switch between cards? For this particular skin, you hit where it says GPU here, and now it shows all 4 of the cards that I have currently installed. If you had, say, 6 to 8 cards, 5 to 8 cards, you would hit this little arrow, and then it goes to the next row, 5 to 8. If you have more than 8 in Windows, then it's a little tricky because Afterburner doesn't accommodate it, so you actually have to hit the gear icon, go up here, select the card 9, 10, 11, 12, hit OK, and then it would jump over to those settings. So it's a little more painful if you have over 8 in Windows for this. So for this, we want to start with our 2070 Super right here, and it's telling me -50 on the core. So which one's our core? Our core clock right here. If you click the number, you can actually type it, or you could move the little slider up and down, but to be more precise, we're just going to type it. It's telling us -50, -50. And then you can hit the little check box, the little check mark applies the settings. So -50, and it's telling me 800 memory. Then our memory clock, 800, and apply. Now it's telling me 150 watts. Well, that doesn't really tell me how to set my power. The power limit is what they're talking about. And I know, let's just put it to about 65%. You really won't see the power until you fire it up and get it under the full load, and then under the miner you can see what the power usage is. Just as an FYI, that power is way too high. 150, way too high. So, but we're just going to set that as a base. We're going to go with 65% power. And if you want to unlink this temp limit is a good idea too. See how it's got a little chain link? Let's unlink that, and I'll set my temp limit to 75. And what that does is it'll cause it to throttle if it starts getting over that limit. But it shouldn't throttle. It shouldn't get to there unless it's under an extreme heat circumstance. So right there. So now we have our power limit on our 2070 Super set to 65%. We have the core clock -50. We have the memory at 800. That one's set. Now let's move on to the 2060 Supers. Actually, before we do that, we want to save that to our profile. Hit the little disk, hit save, and we're going to save it under number 1. And what that does is, now if I changed something and I wanted to go back to it, so I just hit the reset button, and now I want to go back to that. I would just click 1, hit the checkbox, and there we go. It's right back applied. For our fan, it's set to auto here. We want it to be checked for user defined because we already defined the fan curve. So there's how our fan is, and then if I switched any of the other ones, the fan will stay with it. Now, we want to set our 2060 Supers. There's one. Let's go ahead and set this, well, let's link these because we're going to set them the same to start with. So this box right here will link the two cards. And the 2060 Supers, I have one that's a 106B and two that are a 106A. So they're technically different, but they're the same. So let's go ahead and look up our 2060 Super down here. It's telling me -50 on the core, 850 on the memory. So first off, we'll set our power to 65. These will only go down to 71. So pull it all the way down to 71. Temp limit, I'm going to do 75 again. That's just generally what I set. Core, -50. Memory, 850. And we're going to apply. And now let's save that one as well. Because when you saved it, we only saved for that one specific card. And now that is for the first one. We're going to save it for the second one. And then we're going to go down to our last card right here. And we're going to set it the same. 71 is the bottom limit. 75 for the temp. Core is going to be -50. Memory, 850. Apply. And we're going to save that profile. And there we go. There is our overclocking for these specific cards. Again, you can go through here, find your specific card, set your overclocks, and these are good base overclocks to start with. And then if you have stability issues, you'll want to pull up the power slightly, pull down the overclock slightly. So say this one on the screen here wasn't doing well, I would actually pull the power limit up to 75%, and then I might move the memory down to 800, and then fire it up, test again. If it's hashing away and it's working beautifully and no issues, you want to push it a little more. Turn the memory clock up, move it by 50, go up to 900, then move it to 950, move it up to 1000. If you are stable and you're getting valid shares on both the software and the pool, push it up a little until you can get as much mega hash as you can for the best efficiency you can. Okay, so next, let's go ahead and download the Nicehash full application and see how that setup goes and walk you through that and do our overclocks to match. So the base file is quite tiny, and then we're just going to go ahead and jump to it and install. And the same thing, it pops up with a EULA, so we want to accept the terms, we want to hit next, we want to let this thing install. And then it's going to say, completed the setup, do you want to run it, of course. Let's hit finish. And again, we have to accept, and accept again. And then it's going to start our setup, so it's asking language. We want to go ahead and set English. And then we can log in to Nicehash directly from this application here. So there's the application. It was kind of hard to see, but there it is. So we want to go ahead and hit login. Alright, so then when you hit login, it pops up. I'm going to go ahead and put my email and password in, and then put my 2FA, and we'll jump back. Okay, after I logged in, it says login performed successfully, and boom, it pulls up my dashboard here. And the first thing we want to do is change our worker name. It says right here, worker1. Let's turn this guy into temp rig 2. And we're going to save, and now we've named it. So next you're going to hit your gear icon in the top right corner, and then you're going to make sure that you have your Bitcoin address in there. But if you logged in properly at the beginning, it should pull it in there. So here it shows your wallet, it shows your worker name, your time unit, which is by day, because that's what we care about by day. You can actually put in your electrical cost and have it set up to mine based off of your electric versus the profit per day. But most of the times you want this check marked because you want it mining all the time anyway. So then you have your language, your currency, and this is something I highly advise to change right out the gate. Your appearance. Change this thing to dark. And then hit X and hit OK. It's going to restart. It has to reboot. And that is so much easier on the eyes. And there we go. One other thing in your settings is that you can set it to auto update your plugins, which are your miners, and you can also have it auto update the Nicehash application itself by just checkboxing these. So now we want to go to our plugins. We don't have any miners. This application is a shell, and the shell needs mining applications within it. So these are the available ones to download. So we want to just start with, we'll install just Excavator. Now let's just install NB Miner because it has a lot of different algorithms that it can use. So we'll use NB Miner. We have to accept it. It's going to download the miner itself and extract it and install it. And there it says installed. And then it even tells us what version is installed. Before we can get mining, we need to go benchmark these things. So right here we hit the benchmark tab and then we can see our CPU. We're not CPU mining, especially not on a Celeron G3930. But for our cards, we do want to benchmark and run them. We want to select what algorithms we're going to benchmark them on and actually mine them on. So NB Miner. Using NB Miner, you can mine on Autolycos, Beam 3, a Cuckoo Cycle, Dagger Hash, and Kapow and Octopus. So the main two that I'm worried about here are probably my Kapow and my Dagger Hash. That would be your Ethereum and your Raven. So let's just benchmark just those two. We're going to unselect the rest. And we're only going to benchmark these two. But we're going to do it, let's say not connected. But we're going to do that for all 4 cards. So we're going to just select, we're only going to select Dagger, Hash, and Kapow for all 4 cards. And there we go. We've got our MSI Afterburner with all of our clocks set. Now we can do our benchmark. And so you can see it says benchmarking on the algorithm that's working. It's benchmarking on Dagger Hash with the NB Miner first. If we go over here to our dashboard, it says right there, benchmarking. It is benchmarking right as we speak. And there's our devices. We can go to devices, see the same thing. We can see that it is in fact benchmarking all the cards right here. And it takes a little while, and it's going to run through, and it's going to benchmark one algorithm, then it's going to jump to the other. And if you selected them all, it's just going to run down through them, and a lot of times different ones might error depending on your overclocks. Ethereum, optimized Ethereum overclocks are not the same as optimized Raven overclocks or Kapow. So really, benchmarking this manner might not be the most optimal because we have it set for Ethereum, but we're going to let it go through and do the benchmarks, and then it will, after it's done doing all the benchmarks, it's going to automatically start mining on whichever was deemed the most profitable at that time. Alright, so here it is. It finished benchmarking, and then as soon as it finished benchmarking both Kapow and Dagger Hash, which is Ethereum, it automatically fired up Ethereum on NB Miner and started mining away. So let's go look at what the benchmarks look like. So we go down to our benchmarks and we click one of our cards in our drop down. So it shows right here that on Raven it gave me 15.35 and it gave me 41.7 mega hash on Ethereum. On the first card, the second card 41.8, 16.6. That's a little bit better. That's the 2060 Super, 41.6, 16.4, and 41.4 and 19.68. So obviously the 2070 Super does much better on Raven than the other. And then as it automatically started firing up, it started pulling in a per day profits here. And it's telling me that these 4 cards are making 502 per day as it stands right now worth of Bitcoin through Nicehash. You can always go over to the device tab and you can see the individual cards that are running and their quick dirty stats. And then you could hit stop if you want to stop individual cards here too. And then if we want to go check out the pool, it should be the similar numbers. So we jump over here and let's reload this thing and see what it shows on the Nicehash pool itself. And it shows right here, this is my new temp rig 2 using the different miner. And right there it is showing it mining full load, 100% mining, and the actual estimated profitability. See, the profitability here is not caught up yet to what the miner is displaying, So the miner's displaying $5 a day, which is probably really close to actual earnings. But I have to warn you that sometimes these are way off and it fluctuates up and down wildly. And really, to get a real guesstimate or estimate of what you're making per day, you can look at your long-term run, see what it's making over a 24-hour period. All right, so we got this thing up and running. It's hashing away. We've ran through both setups on Nicehash. We've also used our MSI Afterburner. We're completely set up from ground up. Now, what else do we really need or want to have here? And so one other thing that you really want to have is called two pieces of software. We want Hardware Info 64 and we want GPU-Z. GPU-Z reads all the internal stats of the graphics cards itself. Hardware Info 64 takes it to the next notch, and it actually reads all of the sensors across all of your hardware. So let's go ahead and grab these two pieces of software and do a quick look at them. Okay, so let's go to Google, and we're going to download Hardware Info 64. And we're going to go from the official site because that's the smart way to do it. And we want to do, always make sure what you're clicking on because a lot of these type sites will put extra stuff on here. And we want to do this installer. We're going to do the local. I'm not going to need to download something else. And for add. Yes, and there it goes. Install. Right there, install the 722 version. And then we can just open it, run it. And you want to go to and then get walk away install. And now right here, for what we're using it for, we only want to just look at the sensors. So click sensors only and hit start. And then it's telling me, hey, there's a new version available. That's fine. I don't want the new version right now. So just hit close, and here we go. Let's close the background stuff so we can see that a little better. And there is our sensors. So it says the system, and that's my motherboard right there. There is my CPU. There's more CPU stats, more CPU items, which gives you the different states and the different powers and the different temperatures. And so we want to scroll down. There's the motherboard again, and there's our solid state drive, and there is our first GPU. It separates each GPU out. So then we're looking specifically for the GPU temperature and the GPU hotspot temperatures. These are the ones, and of course your power. These are the ones that we want to watch right here. So it says 125 watts, and it says our temperature, our hotspot 65, and the temperature, the main temperature of the GPU is 53. And you can use these to look at and monitor all of your temperatures across all of your cards and your hardware. So it's just a really nice tool to have. Next, let's do GPU-Z. Same process. We'll go down to Google and we'll look for download GPU-Z. For this, I always use the Tech Power Up version, and that's fine. And then we want to download it right there. We're going to select our site to download from, and there, it's downloading. Quick and easy. Now, you can install GPU-Z. And there you go. GPU-Z. Let's close that background, make it a little easier to see. There you go. There's GPU-Z, and it's showing right now that we're looking at the internal graphics. So down at the bottom, you're going to select your drop down, and you're going to select which card you want to look at. So what's neat about this is that it's going to tell us the vendor. So this is the Asus card right here. This must be our ROG Strix. It tells you your memory type, which is Micron in this card, GDDR6, and it tells you your memory size. And then you can also look at the sensors for this too, and it'll show you your hotspots and your temperatures, but it's a little less in depth on the sensors as the hardware info. But the good thing about this is then you can see your memory type, and different memory types do handle overclocks differently, and so it's just good to have. And as long as all of your cards are showing up here, then you know that they're working well in Windows as well. So that's a great tool to have. One last useful thing I want to show you before we close this out. You want to know how much each card or any card would earn at the current point of time. So a great tool to use is www.whattomine.com. So you want to go to the site and you want to click GPU, And then up the top has a heading with a whole bunch of the different cards that you can automatically select, and it should give you pull-in numbers. And there's actually more in a whole nother row, but let's just say you want to know how much a 3070 full hash rate. Notice there's a 3070L and a 37. Well, let's do the 3080. There's a 3080 full hash rate and a 3080 light hash rate. So let's just do one of these cards. Let's get rid of the 480. And now we've got one 3080. How much does one 3080? And they give us some modest estimates of 98 mega hash on 240 watts down here, and that's on Ethereum. And it gives us all these different algorithms. And then down here you can put in your electric cost. It's defaulting to 10 cents per kilowatt hour. Mine's 11, so we'll put 11 here. And then we're going to calculate over in the right corner right here, calculate. And then once we scroll down, it's going to give us current profitability as it stands right this moment. So Ethereum is essentially saying that if I put one 3080 on Ethereum, it's going to make me $2.41 after electric cost, $3.04 worth of Ethereum at this time, at the current profitability, the current market, and that hash rate. So that's a great tool to have, and you could go in here and you could theorize how much it would cost you to build a rig, or how much that rig would make at a current point of time. So I think we've covered it from gathering the parts to throwing them together to getting this thing up and running optimally and mining on Nicehash in Windows. Alright, so now everything is set up in Windows. You got your cards installed, we got our Afterburner, we got our OC, we got our Windows settings. What's next? We have to have a place for our crypto. Where are you going to mine to? Me personally, I love using Exodus wallet, and there's a number of wallets out there. What Exodus is, it is an application-based multi-asset coin wallet. It means that there are tons of different types of cryptos that you can move into this wallet. You can store it there, you can exchange from there, you can move it back out of there. I like it because, one, it's very secure. Two, it is constantly updated, and again, that ties in with the security. And three, has a lot of flexibility. So let's go ahead and look at that one specifically. Again, you can use whatever wallet you want. You can use a hardware wallet. You could even use an exchange to mine to. If you do that, make sure you're only doing like one payout a day so that it doesn't get flagged. It's not usually a recommended, and you don't really want to keep your crypto on the exchange long term anyway, for safety reasons, but it is an option. You can use a hardware wallet. You could use a different type of software wallet. Zelcore has a very nice multi-asset wallet as well, but for this is my favorite, and so I'm just going to show you this one. Exodus wallet, and it's exodus.com, Exodus wallet, and you're just going to get Exodus now. And we don't want mobile, we want desktop. You're going to download Exodus 2.25. You want the Windows app. And there you go. You would download it, you're going to install it. It's going to have you set up your security, your password. You can get a seed phrase and then go through all of it, get it all set up and ready. Now you have addresses. Now you can generate an address to mine too. And of course there is a wide variety beyond this, but this is a great starter and a great jumping off point. This will get you up in mining and get you optimally mining. And then of course there's plenty of other resources out there to elaborate after you're comfortable from this point. So let's go ahead and cut to that outro. Well, there you have it. We got this thing up and running. We built it from the ground up with every little detail, nook and cranny. If I missed anything, or if you have questions or comments, make sure to comment down below or join our Discord, the Misfit Mining Discord. There's always plenty of seasoned vets in there willing to help you out. If you liked the video, you know what to do. Smash that like button and subscribe for future content. Thanks for coming along and enjoy the ride.